Good evening, friends and comrades. Welcome to Vedika talk on Nepalese revolution, past and present. So, this is Avinash. I'm a student and will be moderating today's session. So, the music we just listened, an instrumental version of International, performed by the Ministry of Defense in the USSR. So, before we begin the session, we have a few instructions for all participants. So, friends, this is an audio meeting and it's being streamed live on Vedika's Facebook page and YouTube channel. We have shared the links in the Discord questions and information text channel. So please share them with anyone who wants to follow the discussion but could not join the Discord voice channel. Use a broadband internet connection and headphones for clear audio. If you have or if you face any issues while listening to the session, so please check your internet connection and headphones or try disconnecting and rejoining the session. If the problem still persists, please post a message in the Vedika question and information text channel. Uh, our moderators team is ready to assist you. And please post your questions in the questions and information text channel after the moderator invites questions. Those who are listening to the session via Facebook or YouTube live stream, they can post their questions in the comment sections of the respective platforms. The speaker will address important questions from these channels with priority given to those posted in the Discord text channel. And please do not post any questions in the voice channel chat as they may be missed. Post your questions only in the question and information text channel. So, in this week topic, we already know Nepalese revolution, past and present. Uh, so, and we already know that Nepal has experienced a significant political upheaval, largely fueled by youth led Gen Z protest against corruption, unemployment, social inequalities, and governance challenges. So, these protests, which escalated into violent confrontations, causing over 72 deaths and many injuries, eventually led to the resignation of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and a major transformation in the country's political landscape. Notably, social media platforms, including Discord, played a key role in organizing the movement and in facilitating the election of interim leadership under Sushila Karki. So, so to understand this current moment, we first need to look at Nepal's history. Yesterday, we covered a brief history of Nepal, including the 18th century monarchies and the unification of the country, the Rana period, and their support for British rulers who were suppressing India's rebel movements, and the influence of the global communist movement on Nepal. And we also explored the rise of various communist movements, both revolutionary and revisionist, and how some of these movements shifted from a left adventurist line to parliamentarism. And finally, we discussed the establishment of multi-party democracy in Nepal in 2008. And present in today's talk, Anand will cover developments in Nepal after 2008, the country's conditions, and the people's aspiration for a new republic in Nepal, and how these aspirations were betrayed and what led to the current youth uprising and what the future may hold for Nepal. And our speaker is Comrade Anand from In Defense of Reason. He is a political activist and has previously spoken on the topic of Gaza and the world at Vedika. And Comrade Anand, if you're ready, please unmute and start your presentation.
Thanks, Avinash. You have given a very brilliant introduction and very good summary of yesterday's discussion. So, in today's talk, I'm going to focus more on the contemporary situation in Nepal and what exactly led to the youth uprising that was indeed a kind of earth-shattering event, not just in the history of Nepal, but also in the history of entire Indian subcontinent. So, but before addressing this, the main reasons and all, I got a feedback from one of our comrades that I need to talk a little more about the People's War, the Jan Yudh, that lasted between 1996 and 2006. That was primarily responsible for the eventual overthrow of monarchy in 2008. So I briefly spoke about this, but I can definitely talk a little more about that. We have some time today also. So basically, as I discussed yesterday, it was the situation of political instability in 1990s, despite the fact that this kind of multi-party bourgeois democratic setup, a constitutional monarchy, had come into existence after the Jan Andolan 1 of 1990. There was no political stability, and the economic crisis was worsening. The situation of the people, the peasantry, the youth, and all were deteriorating. It was in that backdrop that the communists, who today are known as Maoist in Nepal, they decided to launch this People's War, and that was a very good step, a kind of very accurate assessment of the situation, because uh, it's not that any time a revolutionary party can launch something like a people's war. It also depends on the objective situation. So that objective situation, the assessment of that objective situation, is the responsibility of the Communist Party, that at what point it can launch that offensive. And that was a very positive thing about that party. At that time, it was the leaders like Pushp Kamal Dahal Prachand and Baburam Bhattarai. So these were the main leaders of that movement, and they decided to launch this People's War in 1996, and started from the western remote hilly areas of Nepal, which was very disconnected, not much connectivity in terms of transportation or communication. It was very remote area. So it started from there, but soon large part of Nepal was engulfed in this People's War, what is known in Nepal as Jan Yuddh. And almost about 70% of Nepal uh, was in either partially or completely under the control of the Maoist revolutionary at that time, in this duration of 10 years. And uh, the ruling classes and their state of Nepal, in many areas, it was confined to some district headquarters. In the rural areas, it was mainly the Maoists who were wherever they were dominant in those pockets of Nepal, especially those remote areas. And later on, even to the urban areas like Kathmandu Valley, their support was expanded. And it was indeed a major breakthrough in the communist movement of Nepal. And in fact, there is no such parallel in the history of entire Indian subcontinent of this kind of guerrilla warfare led by Revolutionary Communist Party. Of course, we have a parallel in China's history. So that was facilitated by the kind of rugged topography of Nepal, in which it was possible. That was one of the objective factors responsible for their success also. That kind of protracted People's War, a guerrilla warfare was possible in that country. And so it was also a good example of mass line being practiced. It was not just about a few courageous and brave revolutionaries who picked the gun and they were just killing the enemy. It was a large section of masses also became part of that protected that People's War, Jan Yuddh. So even though I also spoke yesterday that there was some period in which there was some deviation in this path, and I'll speak a little more about that today also. But by and large, it was a very successful People's War, and that was mainly responsible for the eventual overthrow of monarchy. And uh, not just in terms of political success, in terms of emancipation of different oppressed communities. It was indeed a very progressive phase of Nepalese history. So, for example, large number of women took part in that movement. They even joined the People's Liberation Army. Almost one third of People's Liberation Army of Nepal consisted of women. Among the cadres, almost 50% of the cadres of that revolutionary Maoist party at that time were women. And all those revolutionaries had broken all the barriers of caste, religion, and patriarchy. That was indeed like a very progressive step towards emancipation of all kinds. So these also were the contributions of that People's War, and it even the bourgeois historians and intellectuals who are studying the Nepalese society, they agree that that was a major turning point and led to strong modernization, element of modernization in the Nepalese history. And also the fact that it went on to extend to the urban centers in Kathmandu Valley. So it was combined with the workers' strike, general strike. So in urban centers also it was impacting, and so much so that now this the base of monarchy was completely shattered, and especially after this royal massacre of 2001, about which I spoke yesterday, the social base was completely getting eliminated, and in 2005, the new king, Gyanendra, he had to disband the parliament and kind of absolute monarchy and extreme repression was used. That was the sign that this institution, this more than 2 century old institution of very autocratic monarchy is coming towards its end. And yeah, despite all these positive and progressive things in that movement, still it was not as if the Maoists were having the support of all sections of the Nepalese society. Obviously, the ruling classes were against that, but even among the masses, large section of masses were also not kind of in open support of that was witnessed. For example, when in 2008 this election for the Constituent Assembly was held, even though the Maoist party became the single largest party, but it could not, on its own, it could not secure the majority. And even in 2006, when a kind of comprehensive peace agreement was signed, so the Maoists had to form an alliance with the other parties, including not just the business party, but the bourgeois parties also. That also showed that still this People's War, even though it made a big breakthrough, still it was yet to gain the support of large section of Nepalese people, and that is the reason why the Maoists had to take resort to this kind of alliances also. And between 2006 and 2008, new phase of that movement, even though this People's War ended, new people's movement, it is known as Jan Andolan 2, that was started, in which all these even bourgeois and revisionist parties took part. Of course, they were wavering, but yet they were part of this Jan Andolan 2. So that also shows that it was still not in that stage of what is known as, in Maoist terminology, the strategic offensive stage. it was still in the stage of this People's War was in the stage of strategic equilibrium. The assessment of the Maoist party at that time, that we have reached to this strategic offensive stage, that was not very accurate. And in fact, there are some other communist leaders and parties who were pointing to this lack of accuracy in the assessment of the situation of the Maoist party. And for example, there was this group called CPN Unity Center, which was led by a leader called Prakash or Narayan Kaji Shresht. So he also, this group also emerged from the same CPN 4th Congress, which I spoke about yesterday. So now this group was supporting this People's War, and even though it could not join that People's War, and its initiative and that kind of combativeness and militancy was not there in this party, but its overall assessment of the situation in terms of some deviations within the Maoist party, even during the People's War, they had identified, and they were having a kind of presented their criticism also at that time. And later, after 2008, we now know that many of those criticisms turn out to be correct. And for example, this at that time, there was this word used. Now, of course, no one uses that, but if you remember in 2006, 2007, this word called Prachand Path was used. So Nepalese People's War was presented as a kind of universal, it is applicable universally in other countries also, which was saying too much. I mean, it's true that in the specific conditions of Nepal, that kind of blend of that protracted People's War with some element of mass insurrection was used. That was effective also to a large extent. But to present it as a universal path of revolution in 21st century, a kind of flag bearer of the revolutions of 21st century, was saying too much. It was definitely not correct. It was opposed by some people within the communist movement in Nepal, as well as in India. Also, this newspaper called Mazdoor Bigul, with which I am also associated. In that newspaper also, in 2008 and 9, this criticism of kind of presenting, like saying too much about this Prachand Path and making it universal, was this critique was being presented. And apart from that, especially after 2008, when monarchy was collapsed, there was again a new line was proposed in Mazdoor Bigul newspaper, that also was criticized. For example, this Prachand gave this new line of kind of multi-party democracy being the model for a proletarian democracy. And he was kind of presenting as something new addition to overall Marxist thought. But this was nothing new. It was pure revisionism and parliamentarism, and he was not the first one to say that. But it is clearly a deviation from Marxism. Instead of having a multi-layered Soviet kind of system for proletarian democracy, this support for multi-party democracy as a model for proletarian democracy was a clear-cut signal that this party is going towards revisionism. Even though it had just come out of the People's War, and its revolutionary character was dominant. But these kinds of utterances from the Maoist leaders at that time were indicative that this these leaders who, these revolutionaries who spent uh, large time in forest, they fought against the rulers. When they are coming out of the forest and then they are uh, becoming coming into mainstream and they are entering into parliament, this Prachand path is somehow getting lost in the galleries of the parliament. So now these deviations were very clearly discernible by 2008, 2009. And uh, one of the problems, even during the People's War period, was that even though there was this militancy and combativeness among the cadres, which was a positive thing, there was not enough emphasis on the ideological political training of the cadres, and there was not enough environment of two-line struggle within the party, and that is the reason why these deviations ultimately could not be controlled, and it led to kind of departure from the ideology, and this party became a purely revisionist party now. Only in the name it is a Maoist party. When I speak about their acts in the last 15 years, we'll know that what kind of sins they have committed. And any serious Marxist would understand that this is the one of the worst form of revisionism, which we are witnessing in our own lifetime. We have been reading about revisionism of uh, during the Russian Bolshevik revolution period, before that, and after that, and then in the Chinese communist movement revisionism, and then Khrushchevite revisionism. But uh, in our own neighborhood, we witness in 21st century itself very extreme and worst form of revisionism, and so much political opportunism. Uh, back like it's a kind of example to stay away from this kind of politics, even for the revolutionaries in India. So, and one of the main reason as I spoke, was that within the party, that kind of culture of political and ideological education training, two-line struggle, that was not there even during the People's War. And because of that, this kind of cult building was done of Prachand. The name itself, Prachand Path, showed. And there was even till 2012, 13, many people in Nepal used to have a kind of admiration for Prachand. But after that, slowly a disillusionment started set in the people's mind as the reality unfolded, and started with some corrupt practices and some political opportunism. But eventually, its overall revisionist character also became very obvious. So when we are talking about People's War and its contribution and its achievements, definitely it was primarily responsible for the eventual overthrow of monarchy. We must not forget about these deviations which were present even during that phase, and which got more pronounced after 2008, when this republic came into existence. So, uh, and for example, even in terms of moral degeneration, like the kind of corruption cases, kind of sexual harassment cases against many of these Maoist leaders have come in last 15 years. That also raises a big question about the kind of ideological political training that was missing. Uh, and we'll speak about these corruption cases a bit later. But uh, even, for example, we spoke about uh, these new modernization elements entering during the People's War, women coming, joining the the People's Liberation Army, they were becoming communist, intercaste marriages were taking place. But after this 2008 collapse of monarchy and this republican form of government and multi-party bourgeois democracy came into existence. Now, one of the serious mistakes which this party led by Prachand did was kind of agreeing to merge that People's Liberation Army with the bourgeois army of Nepal, and many of those who fought with guns against the enemy, now they became part of the Nepalese army, and perhaps many of them will be crushing the revolution, the youth uprising now. So, and also, in terms of moral degeneration, I was talking about in terms of cultural moral degeneration, many kind of regression also happened. For example, many of these people who became revolutionaries when after 2008, uh, when they went back to home, these their marriages were not accepted, and many of these marriages were broken, and they started living normal traditional way of life, and whatever advances were made, um, to a large extent, there was a reversal after 2008. Uh, and even the condition of in terms of the liberation of women, many women who became communists later on, that shows the degeneration of the party itself, that they again went back to that traditional way of life in their family and that patriarchal structure. So this was a kind of counter revolutionary current becoming dominant, and the phase of revolutionary dominance of revolutionary current was getting over. And these were the reflections in terms of social and cultural field, apart from the political opportunism, basically. So uh, this is what, in brief, I felt that since a comrade asked to elaborate, we should talk about. And uh, so we can now talk about what exactly happened in terms of political superstructure after 2008. After 2008, when this Constituent Assembly election took place, the first Constituent Assembly election, in which uh, this Maoist party became the single largest party, but it on its own could not secure the majority, and it was uh, kind of forming an alliance with other parties, and the kind of uh, ideological justification was given by supporting this kind of multi-party bourgeois democracy as a model for proletarian democracy. And uh, interim government was formed, initially led by Prachand, but it was very unstable government. Of course, there are different types of leaders, different ideological background. So as happens in India, this kind of coalition politics, there are pulls and pressures, and it doesn't work in a very effective manner. That happened even in Nepal. In fact, that the task of the Constituent Assembly was to frame this constitution, and there were many problems in that process. For example, this Tarai region of Nepal, uh, the people of that region are called Madhesi people. So they were demanding more autonomy, more federal kind of structure, more power, political and administrative power. And these kinds of pulls and pressure was happening. And there was, for a brief period, there was uh, Indian kind of intervention, which was alleged because there was a army chief who was trying to uh, exert pressure on this Prachand government, and Prachand eventually had to resign also. So basically, eventually, this constituent assembly, first constituent assembly, could not complete its task of constitution, framing the constitution, and in 2013, another election took place for the constituent assembly, and this time the Nepalese Congress Party won the election, and now it took some 2 more years for the new constitution of Nepal to come into existence. In 2015, this new constitution of Nepal was finalized. It is a typical federal democratic bourgeois republic, broadly based on the Indian constitution, but there are some new elements, like there is a kind of blend of first past post system as well as the proportional representation system. Yeah, so that was in 2015. And after this 7 long years of this ups and downs in that process of constitution making, people at least now hope that now we have a constitution. Now there'll be more political certainty, there'll be more political stability, and the conditions of people will be improved. And in fact, it was precisely at that time a major earthquake happened in Nepal. Large number of people were killed, many structures were demolished, and it was in this situation that Indian government, the Modi government, fascist Modi government in India, it kind of informal blockade it imposed on Nepal. So as we discussed yesterday, Nepalese economy is very much dependent on imports. There is very less industrial production there, and it's a landlocked country, so very much dependent on India in that sense. If you go towards Nepal from any border from UP or Bihar, you'll find large number of trucks standing there. It consists of all these goods which go from India to Nepal. Now this blockade happened in 2015, and Indian government also kind of fueled this Madheshi movement. So even though officially it did not recognize, but this was a kind of unannounced blockade, which led to increased discontent among the people of Nepal. On the one hand, you had a tragedy of earthquake. On the other hand, you had a neighbor which was imposing a blockade. There was a severe shortage of gas, oil, or any basic medicines, food, many other things. There was a shortage. There was a huge inflation, and that's what not many people in India know, that Indian government did this kind of inhuman act, and that led to strong anti-India sentiment in Nepal. So that also led to a lot of uncertainty and instability. But despite that, when the new election, the first election after constitution came into existence, now even this last 10 years, there has not been political stability, and it is these three parties, mainly the CPN UML, CPN Maoist Center, that is Maoist, and the Nepalese Congress Party. They have kind of occupied the post of prime minister and ministers in this 10 years, and there is a kind of musical chair going on. So that hope of political stability and political certainty was not realized, and there was extreme form of political opportunism which was witnessed in this duration, which broke all previous record. It was unprecedented, not just in the history of Nepalese polity, but it went ahead even the opportunism of bourgeois politics in India. This kind of changing the party and forming alliance with opposing ideology, so much so that one wonders how like they are justifying this kind of opportunism. That uh, there was a time when this revisionist party CPN UML and CPN this Maoist, they merged themselves and form a combined party. So earlier, the Maoists were terming these UML party as revisionists, but they merged that and a new party was formed for a brief period. It was known as Nepal Communist Party. Uh, that party was again, Supreme Court disbanded that party, that it's illegal and it has like very opportunistic trends. But the fact that they were ready to do that, the fact that they entered into all kinds of opportunistic alliances, not just with UML but with Nepalese Congress Party. So you had these three people who were just rotating for, and none of these governments could complete their tenure. So either KP Sharma Oli or Sher Bahadur Deuba or Prachand, these people were rotating one by one. And they were having these agreements that I will be the prime minister for 2 years, 2.5 years, and then the next 2.5 years you'll be the prime minister. And then once that 2.5 years completes, then this party will say that no, I'll not allow you, and that parliament is suspended and new elections were happening. So basically, these kinds of political instability as a consequence of the political opportunism, not just by the bourgeois and revisionist party, but the self-proclaimed revolutionary party, also led to this situation of extreme political instability, and that led to this prevalence of disillusionment, spread of disillusionment with all these political parties, including the Maoists, because they realize that they are not any better, right? So they are also opportunist. They are also forming kind of unprincipled alliances. And most importantly, they are also involved in the corrupt practices. Can we imagine that even the senior leadership of the Maoist party were involved, including Prachand, in the corruption cases, in huge corruption scandals which broke out. And many of them, the cases are going on. Even as we speak, even today, there is a senior leader named Krishna Bahadur Mahara of this Maoist party, who has been arrested on the charges of gold smuggling. So this is the extent of degeneration of that party, that a senior communist leader who was a speaker at one time, who is arrested on the charges of gold smuggling. This is just the example of the kind of degeneration that has taken place in the Nepalese communist movement. And there has been many other corruption scandal. There is a scandal of illegal immigration racket, which Maoist leaders were also involved. Prachand was also alleged to have been involved in the purchase of aircraft, getting commission in that. There was a scandal related to the construction of an international airport. So these kinds of scandals were breaking out in this last 10 years, which was leading to increased disillusionment with this entire political process, with this claim of they being revolutionaries and they are going to bring a new kind of society where there'll be no exploitation and oppression. People were realizing that this is the reality. They are not any different. They are also involved in all kinds of corrupt practices. So why do we believe what they are promising? So this was the backdrop I think we need to understand. In this backdrop only we can understand this youth uprising which took place in Nepal last month. Without this backdrop, we won't be able to understand what was like the reason behind that. And of course, apart from this political uncertainty and corruption, the economic situation was also worsening in this entire period. So all these leaders and political parties, when they came to power, including the Maoists, they implemented neoliberal policies and privatization and uh, kind of liberalization, globalization. Uh, Even though some kind of uh, infrastructure development took place, some transportation and communication facilities, now youth have mobile phones, smartphones, in the villages also in Nepal. Some road connectivities has also improved. But the most disturbing fact of this kind of development, neoliberal capitalist development, is that there are no jobs created in that economy. There's no industrialization which is taking place, and that is leading to this situation of huge unrest in that society. The unemployment rate is more than 22% in Nepalese economy, and the youth do not have any other option but to emigrate to other countries, to abroad. To if you go to Kathmandu, you'll see the uh, kind of shops for teaching Korean languages, Japanese languages, just as we see here in India, the coaching centers for IAS and different civil services exam. You see in Nepal these kinds of centers who are teaching foreign languages so that people can uh, go to other country. The youth of that country don't have any other option. There are different estimates about the number of uh, workers of Nepal who are working in other countries. But out of the total population of 3 crore, around one third, 90 lakh to 1 crore people are outside the country, including in India. India and Nepal have open border, so there's no exact data available about the number of people from Nepal who work in India. But if you include all kinds of workers who have migrated from Nepal to Gulf, to Korea, to Japan, to Australia, to Europe, to US, it'll be like around one third. It can go to as high as one third, which is very unique. Very few countries in the world have so much population working abroad, and the entire GDP of Nepal, one third of that GDP comes from the remittances sent by these workers who have settled abroad and who send this. So that also shows the very unstable nature of the economy of Nepal. And very few countries in the world have this kind of economic system in which one third of GDP comes from the remittances. So that that is the situation of the economy of Nepal. And of course, in this last 10 years, this situation has only worsened. And especially after COVID, as happened in many countries, especially many small countries which were not diversified, where there was no much industrial base, that were impacted a lot. For example, we saw in the case of Sri Lanka, in the case of Bangladesh also, and now in case of Nepal also, that the economic crisis of these societies worsened, especially after the COVID situation, because apart from the remittances, yet another source of income in Nepal is tourism, which was hugely impacted because of this COVID situation. So now this is the backdrop which we need to understand. There was a political uncertainty and instability. There was a opportunism of the worst kind, including by the communists. There was this economic crisis which was worsening, unemployment, inflation was skyrocketing, because of this dependence on imports. If there is a Ukraine war going on, if there is oil prices are increasing in the international market, it is much worse impact in a country like Nepal. So uh, now inflation goes on. There is a extreme inequality, economic disparity is growing, and that uh, also led to this kind of small section of elites who have amassed huge wealth with their connection with the politician and the government, getting government contract, and they have amassed wealth, and they are living very luxurious life, very opulent life. They are flaunting of their wealth on social media, and that's the reason. Before this youth uprising on 9th and 10th September, if you see on the social media in Nepal, there was this trend, the hashtag of Nepo babies and Nepo kids, that was going viral, in which the youth of Nepal were exposing these elites and their family members who are enjoying their life, who are living very extravagant life. At a time when there is a economic crisis going on, and the normal people, the ordinary people of Nepal, the youth of Nepal do not have jobs. Even in other countries, many cases have come that many youth of Nepal uh, have been forced to join this Ukraine war on behalf of Russia. Uh, so there are many kinds of illegal activities which are taking place illegally. People are migrating to other countries in search of jobs. So all these situation, and there is a extreme poverty there. So on the one hand, the majority of that society is facing these kinds of economic hardships, and on the other hand, you have a small section of elites who are basically enjoying the luxurious life. So this also led to huge discontent. There was the discontent not just against the ruling party or the prime minister, but also against this entire elite, apart from the political elite, the rich people of Nepal, basically the capitalists, the traders, the speculators, the real estate mafia who are enjoying. So this was what we witnessed as part of youth uprising. There was a element of this class anger also, and that's what explains that many of these uh, uh, huge buildings, the 5-star, 7-star hotels, were also torched in that uprising. And apart from the attacks on the houses of many of these leaders, including the communist leaders, many such buildings which were kind of symbol of this extravagant lifestyles uh, of the rich and the powerful and the elites, that was also at the receiving end of this people's and youth anger, basically. So now, against this backdrop, we can now understand that this was the objective condition of Nepal before the this 9th and 10th September youth uprising. And of course, the immediate trigger for that uprising was the ban on social media platform. 26 social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all were banned. And that was a kind of final blow uh, that triggered this uprising, because these social media platforms, especially for example Facebook, is a very important part of the life of people, of youth in Nepal. They use Facebook not just as a social media platform, but also to communicate with each other in different remote corners. Also, there is a network connectivity. Many people are doing their small businesses on social media. So all these this social media ban, which was very arbitrarily imposed, suddenly imposed, that was also uh, that led to huge unrest among the people, especially the youth. And that's how this call was given against the social media ban. But that is just the immediate trigger. We can't explain this entire uprising just by this action of the Oli government of imposing a ban on social media. When we understand in this larger backdrop of this economic crisis, the political instability, corruption, disillusionment with the uh, entire process of this Republican experiment, the claims of the Maoist of bringing a new society, there was a disillusionment with that. There was a betrayal of those promises, and that led to huge disillusionment in the Nepalese society. And only that can explain the uprising of this kind. And when large number of youth uh, took to the streets, not just of Kathmandu, but different cities and even small towns and even in villages of Nepal, that the youth had uh, hit the street on that day. So it was a widespread movement. And it was also a kind of knee-jerk reaction by the KP Sharma Oli government. And in Sanskrit, there is this line called Vinash Kale Viparit Buddhi, which means in the adverse situation, your mind also just goes in a very weird direction. So this step of imposing the ban on social media and then uh, opening fire on the protesters, on the youth protesters, many of them have come in the school in the school uniform to join that protest. And when this news of uh, that day 19 youth being killed in this police firing, when this spread in throughout Nepal, because even when these social media platforms are banned, there are many other platforms like TikTok, Viber and all were active. And on that night, when this ban was lifted, that also shows that this government was not in its uh, position to tackle this. So it thought that just by lifting that ban, this anger can be subsided. But that also led to spread of this these pictures of youth kids being killed, and that led to again much more violence next day, in which Parliament was burned, the Supreme Court, the administrative, the Secretariat, the houses of the senior leaders, Prime Minister, and opposition leaders. None was basically skipped. So, of course, on the next day, many different types of elements might have been involved. We don't have the concrete understanding now, information about who all were involved in that next day violence. But certainly, it also shows that there was a huge anger simmering for many years, and that was the outcome of that. And that was the main reason why whatever happened, and that was the main reason for the downfall of the KP Sharma Oli's government also. So there are many people who are presenting some kind of conspiracy theories that there was some CIA angle there, or Indian state had made some kind of conspiracy. There are no proofs of that as of now. If there are some evidences, then we can think of what might be as of now, we don't have any proof of any kind of imperialist conspiracy. And there are many people terming it as color revolutions and all, which was kind of planted by the US imperialism. But as of now, there is no evidence of that. And now, after that uprising, now comes this question that what exactly is going to happen after that, and what is happening right now in Nepal. So before talking about future, I think we also need to talk a little bit about the subjective factors involved in this entire development in last few years. Especially after 2008, we have discussed about the objective conditions and the economic crisis and the political instability. Apart from that, we also need to talk about what was happening at the level of subjective forces. Of course, we have discussed about the degeneration in the ranks of Maoist and the leadership of the Maoist. Uh, but apart from the Maoist, also many people who came out of the Maoist party also, they um, they were critical of the revisionism of the Maoist, and they still are. They have not been able to really build a new revolutionary party and a new revolutionary stream. And they also suffer from various kinds of deviations. So many independent groups, youth study groups, and parties are emerging, which are exposing the revisionism of the Maoist. But they are also, many of them are being critical of the dogmatism prevalent within the Nepalese communist movement. Many of them are rethinking about and they are trying to study the mode of production of Nepal. What is the dominant mode of production? What is the production relations? And many of them are questioning this semi-feudal and semi-colonial dogma also. But many of are also suffering from other kinds of deviations. For example, this deviation of free thinking, accessless free thinking, of doing everything from scratch and kind of abandoning Marxism itself. And there is a huge influence of postmodernism, identity politics of various kinds, caste-based identity politics, gender-based identity politics, tribal identity politics of all hues you can find in the new groups and formations that are emerging. And that is one of the reasons why, like, even this youth uprising, like all these communist leaders and these new formations, all of them were taken aback. They did not realize that something like this can happen, because they have not been practicing the class based politics. It is mainly the identity politics that they are practicing. Even these new formations and parties and groups, all their talk is about how much representation of different communities, different genders, different castes are there going to be there in the party. How many women are going to be there in the central committee, how many Dalits are going to be there. This is the discourse which has been going on. There is no thought of building the militant mass movement on the issues like unemployment, talking about employment guarantee, talking about huge anti-corruption movement, uh, movement for free and uniform healthcare, free and uniform education for all. So these kinds of issues are not being raised by those people who claim to be communists. They are mostly raising these identitarian issues. And now this also is part of the problems of the subjective forces. Even those who are not degenerated in the sense of being corrupt or morally degenerate, they are honest, but they suffer from these ideological deviations of originating from postmodernist ideas, like it is happening in India also. So in Nepal, it is very much dominant, and there are many such trends. We don't have so much time to talk about all such different trends. I can just speak about some such examples. For example, there is a party called Scientific Socialist Party. Now, with the name, you might wonder that this might be something really revolutionary and scientific socialist party. But what it means by scientific socialism is hilarious. Uh, it it says that now we have reached to a stage in the history of human society that now science and technology has become dominant aspect of the productive forces. So now we have been reading all through that it is the human aspect which is the dominant in the productive forces. It is the human who create the tools and technology, not the tools and technology which create human being. So the dominant aspect is the human being themselves, their skills, So, but they have now come up with this theorization that now science and technology is the most dominant aspect, and because of that, now they are claiming that through science and technology only we this is the era of scientific socialism. That's what they mean by scientific socialism, and they are claiming that now we don't need large scale mass mobilization. We just need science and technology, expertise in science and technology, and through science and technology we can bring about revolution. So they went on to the extent of changing their flag also. Now the party's flag does not include hammer and sickle. They have replaced that with the remote control. So that shows that this is a science and technology development in science and technology, and productive forces have evolved. So we communists have to also change. So we don't need to bother so much about the mass mobilization. We need to just gain expertise in science and technology, and through science, through remote control, through in fact, even this Gen Z revolution, they are explaining only in the technological terms that Gen Z people can, through Discord and through social media, they can bring about this kind of change. So we can bring about revolution also through social media and these kinds of apps. So that is the just one such example of kind of free, accessless, free thinking. So they criticize dogmatism, they criticize revisionism and all, but then they are coming up with these kinds of ridiculous theorization. Many such groups are there, and that is the reason why because of these deviations also there was no even though objective conditions were apt for revolutionary change in Nepal last month, even now, but there was no subjective force. There was no really revolutionary party to take advantage of that situation and to take it to the direction of revolution, to socialism, to complete overthrow of capitalism. So that is the main subjective factor responsible, and apart from these deviations within the ranks of the communist, there have been other new trends which have emerged within the politics of Nepal, not necessarily in the communist movement, but in other political formations. For example, you have this leader called Balendra Shah, who is the mayor of Kathmandu, who has become very popular in last few years. Even in this Gen Z protest, many youth were proposing that he should become the next prime minister, and many of them still hope that will win the next election if he launches any political party. So far, he has not having a political party, is independent. Now he was a rapper earlier, and now he's becoming very popular among the youth. But the kind of politics he represents is the politics of depoliticization. Basically, he depoliticizes. He is against all kinds of ideology, all kinds of ism, and many people get attracted. So we can. We can imagine what kind of depoliticization such people bring about, and he's very extremely anti-working class, anti-poor, because in Kathmandu he has ordered strict action, very strict action against the street vendors and all. So many middle class youth, they get attracted with these kinds of politics. Very strong leader who is just going after illegal encroachments. So they'll just focus on that illegal encroachment of street vendors. They'll not understand this entire capitalist exploitation. So they are, for example, they'll be opposed to crony capitalism, cronyism, corruption, but they'll not be opposed to capitalism as such. So they want a kind of good, a noble kind of capitalism, a human capitalism with a human face. So who's following rules and regulations, and then everything's happening as per the laws and rules. So we have witnessed these kinds of politics in different parts of the world, in Spain, in India also. For example, if we recall Arvind Kejriwal, when he came initially, he was also talking that manner against corruption, and I'm against all ideologies, left or right. But we know the reality that whatever they claim, they end up serving the cause of the ruling classes only. And for example, this Balen Shah, he will not have any problem of joining any party. So, for example, there is a pro-monarchy party also, RPP, Rashtriya Prajatantra Party in Nepal. So he can join that party also. There is a new party which has emerged in last 3 years. In 2022 elections, a new party was launched, RSP, Rashtriya Swatantra Party, whose leader was Rami Lamacheni, who, by the way, is arrested under corruption charges, who was also released during this Gen Z protest when prison break and all happened. But he also is very popular. He was earlier TV anchor, and among the youth, he also is popular. So now these kinds of new leaders are emerging. The old leaders, the communist, Nepalese Congress Party, the revisionist, Maoist, all have become extremely unpopular. And these new leaders who are emerging, they focus on the issues like corruption, some small incidents of, for example, street vendors, and they'll talk about waging a fight against corruption and all. But they'll not talk about capitalism. They don't have any problem with capitalism. They'll not talk about a kind of some concrete proposal for increasing employment or healthcare or education. So these kind of leaders, new parties are emerging in Nepal, and they are getting more popular. So on the one hand, there is a disillusionment with the mainstream political parties. On the other hand, you have more support base emerging for these new emerging leaders who claim to be independent of all political ideologies and all, and yet they will end up serving the cause of the system, the capitalist system only. So that is what is happening in Nepal. That also we need to understand if we have to understand about the future, where it is heading to. And also we need to talk about the kind of role those people who kind of led that Gen Z movement. We need to talk about their thinking and their ideology, even though they claim to be very independent also of all ideologies. Uh, they are very angry. The youth of Nepal are very angry who took part in this Gen Z protest. They are definitely angry with the kind of corruption, the kind of political opportunism which has they have witnessed in their lifespan. So they are basically the product of this Republican Nepal. They have not witnessed that monarchical kind of environment. So they have grown up in that hope and that era of aspirations that Nepal is going to be changed and a new modern and equal kind of Nepal will come into existence. But they have also witnessed that reality is very different. And these leaders who claim to be revolutionaries and Maoists, they are corrupt and degenerated. So now many of these youth are joining many kinds of NGOs. That also is one more very dangerous trend in Nepalese society, just as it is there in everywhere, including in India. But in case of Nepal, it is much more prevalent, much more dangerous, because of the very bad condition of Nepalese economy. It is also dependent on large amount of foreign aid by imperialist powers like US, even Chinese imperialist, Indian capitalist state also provides foreign aid. So apart from remittances and tourism, this foreign aid provides a large kind of support of the Nepalese economy. Apart from this foreign aid, you have huge this influx of money which is coming in the form of NGOs, which act as the safety valve of capitalist system, which attract those youth who are good intentioned, who want to see a better society, but who do not know the roots of their problems, the main reason of unemployment, the main reason of the economic inequality, the main reason of corruption. That is, they don't understand that it is the capitalist system that is responsible for all these things. So they, what these NGOs or INGOs, international NGOs, they do is to confine their anger to kind of sprinkle the cold water on their anger and to confine their consciousness within the ambit of the existing capitalist system. So they don't think about the alternative of capitalism. They think about alternative within capitalism. So if not KP Sharma Oli, if not Sher Bahadur Deuba, if not Prachand, so let's think about some very clean, very honest, very non-corrupt face. So that's what they did in Discord, that they did a kind of online referendum that will choose a very non-corrupt face. So they came up with the name of Sushila Karki. Earlier they considered Balen Shah and all, but then only for 6 months as an interim prime minister. We want him for 5 years. So the next prime minister should be Balen Shah. Some other person should be the interim prime minister. So that's how the name of Sushila Karki, the ex-chief justice of Supreme Court of Nepal, because of her very clean image and the fact that she's woman. So these kinds of identity politics is also dominant in this Gen Z movement also, that woman is there, she's very clean, very honest. They don't realize that they are, in fact, by doing so, they are safeguarding this system, which was on the verge of collapse. Now Sushila Karki, people like Sushila Karki, they emerge in this situation, just as Muhammad Yunus emerged in Bangladesh as a savior of the system, not as a savior of the people or not any kind of relief to the people. It is the capitalist, exploitative, oppressive system that has been safeguarded by this kind of uh, new alternative. So basically, uh, what has been done after this such a radical movement, after the collapse of uh, government within 24 hours, system has been safeguarded by such representatives of the system, like a chief justice, who has a very clean image. Because if you recall, that was the situation in which, if there was a really revolutionary alternative present, the limbs of the state were completely paralyzed, and that could have been turned into revolutionary overthrow of capitalist system. But because of the mistakes, because of the ideological deviations of the revolutionary communist movement, that opportunities was lost, just as it was lost in Bangladesh, just as it was lost in Sri Lanka, uh, just as it was lost in during the Arab Spring in the entire Arab world. When there was a revolutionary situation, the objective conditions for revolution was prevalent, but the subjective forces of revolution was not present. The ruling class was not able to rule in the old ways, but there was no revolutionary force to overthrow the system. And that's what happened in Nepal also. So, in this kind of a lack of revolutionary alternative, now these new developments are happening now. More, all the talk is now confined to that who is going to be the next prime minister, or whether we should have a parliamentary form of the government, or we should go for any kind of presidential form, or even we should also talk about the fact that there is this pro-monarchy party that is not very popular as of now, but their support base is definitely increasing. If you have noticed, uh, Bollywood actress Manisha Koirala is kind of batting for that party, who is supporting this return of monarchy. And there is definitely a small section in Nepalese society who are talking about going back to monarchy, because this republic is not yielding any result. It is not leading to any stability. At least that monarchy provided us stability. There was some. They are creating this fiction. They are spreading this fiction that there was prosperity during the monarchy. So that is also a dangerous trend in the Nepalese politics. And a few weeks before this Gen Z revolt, this pro-monarchy party, RPP, led a huge procession in Kathmandu and many other cities of Nepal. And definitely some of their elements might have been involved in many of the these arsons and looting also. So that is also one of the players which definitely does not have any huge support base. It doesn't look likely that in future the monarchy can be restored. But definitely this trend is present in that polity of being like kind of people hoping for a return to monarchy, people who are being fed up with this republican experiment, with the political corruption, political opportunism, degeneration of the communist. So there is a huge disillusionment among the youth. So some of them might go for these kinds of alternative also, but large section of youth still do not really talk about monarchy or converting Nepal to Hindu Rashtra, as was claimed by Indian media, Dainik Jagran newspaper, or certainly they are not talking about somebody like Modi. But definitely there are other kinds of deviations And this NGOization of this movement is a very dangerous trend. And that's the reason we must not be uh, glorifying this movement. We must talk about the achievements, we must talk about the conditions, we must talk about the simmering anger which was built over the year, the reasons for this uprising. But we must also talk about the shortcoming of this movement, the fact that it is not able to overthrow the system, even though it was successful in overthrowing the government. The regime of KP Sharma Oli was very authoritarian, was very oppressive. So, to that extent, this movement led to a positive contribution in the history of Nepal. But these kinds of deviations, in fact, many of them were praising military also. They had a very strong illusion about the role of military in a capitalist society, as if military is there to safeguard the people. They don't realize that military is there to safeguard the property relations of capitalism, and that's what they did on 10th of September when the entire state was paralyzed. It was the military which came to the rescue and safeguarded the system. And many of the Gen Z youth were actually welcoming the military. And that is kind of shortcoming of this movement. Mainly, it was a spontaneous outburst of the youth, but the spontaneous movement per se don't lead to a revolution unless there is a revolutionary vanguard in that movement which leads that struggle and which have a strategy of bringing about revolution. Revolution cannot happen. It can just be a revolt at the most. So what happened in Nepal in 2000, in last month, in September 9th and 10th, was indeed even in this interim government, it is now the system is trying to recover itself, all the things which it has lost. Even ideologically, also various debates and discussions are happening in the media of Nepal, which are trying to the forces of intelligentsia, bourgeois intelligentsia, is also providing their own alternative, their own interpretation, and that now confining people's anger within the system, criticizing crony capitalism, cronism, corruption, and uh, degeneration of the leaders. But they are not really offering any kind of systemic alternative. So now it is up to the revolutionary forces of Nepal. We certainly do not hope anything from the mainstream political party, the Maoists, the UML, and many of the senior leadership. They have definitely not just become revisionist, morally degenerate. They have become. We have just provided some few examples of that degeneration. So we don't hope anything from Prachand and the likes of Prachand or Baburam Bhattarai. They might have some revolutionary role to play at some point of history, but now they have turned counter-revolutionaries. So, and certainly we do not have any hope from these new vagabond philosophers who are emerging within the communist movement, who are going and offering very ridiculous kind of theorization. But certainly there is a huge section of youth in Nepal still who is witnessing these developments, who is trying to understand that from Marxist perspective. And our hope lies in these independent groups and the cadre level. Many of these organizations have such cadres who are really still thinking about really a revolutionary change or bringing about a socialist society. So basically our hope and our optimism that uh, there will be some positive change in Nepal lies not in the mainstream parties or leaders, but in these small groups and independent formations which are emerging. They suffer from some deviations also, but uh, we hope that with this new situation, they'll be ready to understand, and they'll have a kind of self-critical attitude of what went wrong. Why is it that the communist movement, especially the revolutionary forces who are still present in the Nepalese society, they could not capitalize this situation of revolutionary situation? Why is it that class-based politics was not practiced in all these years? When this clear trend of revisionism was emerging, why is it that this turn towards postmodernism and identity politics, which was supported and which became very dominant among these independent groups and the new generation of the communists in Nepal? So uh, I think only if that happens, this kind of rethinking, a self-critical reappraisal of this entire period uh, after 2008, especially, uh, that a kind of new revolutionary stream, the possibility of a new revolutionary stream emerging, and the objective situations are like that, that there is material conditions which will compel many of those honest people to think seriously about what went wrong and how to rebuild the movement in Nepal. And of course, it's not just the problem of Nepal, it is the problem of entire Indian subcontinent. That's the problem in Bangladesh, that's the problem in Sri Lanka. In Pakistan also, that kind of economic crisis is building up and can explode anytime, any day. In India also, that kind of economic crisis is going on. In India, there is a special situation of fascist rise, which the challenges are much more complex. But definitely, we in India, the people in India, the youth in India, should study these developments which are happening in South Asia. And we must learn lessons from that so that we can also uh, implement some of these lessons in our own movement, because many of these problems are common throughout South Asia, not just in South Asia, throughout the world, especially the developing world, the so-called third world countries, which are going to be the hotspots of the next round of revolution in 21st century. We must closely follow all these developments, and uh, now we are Nepal is our neighboring country, so we have much more concrete information available, and we must closely follow whatever is happening in future also. That will help us also to understand, and it is also our internationalist duty to understand whatever is happening in any part of the world. So, and in many ways, the revolutions in Nepal and a revolution in India is interconnected also. If a revolutionary current progresses in Nepal, it will help the revolutionary movement in India. And if the revolutionary movement in India progresses, that will have a positive repercussion in the revolutionary movement of Nepal also. So, with this hope, I think I can conclude my talk, and then we can, of course, discuss about question and answers and some doubts, or if I have missed any point, we can discuss in that question and answer session. Thank you.
Okay, comrade. Thank you. And we can take a short break. I'll announce some instructions. So, friends, welcome to the questions and question and information text channel. So, please post your questions in question information text channel. And those who are following in Facebook, YouTube live streamings, please post your questions in the comment boxes. So, priority will be given to the Discord text channel. And friends, Vedika is also running a YouTube channel. So you can find live streamings and old Vedika videos in that channel. So please subscribe to the channel and share it to your friends. And you can follow Vedika on social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and uh, Instagram also. So please follow the pages, and we shared the links in question information text channel. Vedika is also running a WhatsApp group to share Vedika talks and the material shared by speakers. So only admins can message in these groups. Uh, we shared the links in question and information text channel. So please share it to your friends, and those who are not joined in that groups, please join the groups. So, okay, comrade, if you're ready, then we can go to the question and answer session.
Yeah, we can go.
Yeah, okay. Members are typing. Then I have one question. That so, what will be the impact of this Gen Z movement on Indian youth? Especially, we are also facing the problems of unemployment and is worsening conditions. And also, another question is that how this fascist Modi government take this movement as an example to oppress India's movements and protests also. This is my question.
Yeah, so definitely there is positive impact of this Gen Z, so-called Gen Z. I don't like this word called Gen Z youth, but yeah, that has become very common. So uh, basically, the youth uprising in Nepal definitely is going to have its impact not just in India but in entire Indian subcontinent. And now we have seen that this word Gen Z is being used by many people. Even the rulers are using this uh, to co-opt this movement as well as to slander against movements in India. For example, in Ladakh also this word was used, and in Uttarakhand there was a youth movement against some uh, cases of malpractices in jobs and all. So that Gen Z, so it was kind of slandering was done against the youth, that they are being inspired by Gen Z revolt in Nepal. So uh, definitely Indian youth also, because it was covered widely by the media, and even YouTube channels, many independent media also covered. Many apolitical youth also have now learned that there is something going on in our neighborhood. They might not know the entire history of Nepal and how what were the reasons, but at least there is some realization that the youth of Nepal have unitedly overthrown the corrupt regime, right? Even the apolitical people are realizing, and that definitely is going to motivate many people to think about the problems of Indian society and the role of the youth in changing the system in India. But as I told, the problems in India are much more complex. Even though there is the objective conditions of economic crisis and unemployment, inflation, corruption, all these problems are there. But you have a very dominant wave of counter revolution, the fascist rise we are witnessing, which was not the case in Nepal or in Bangladesh or in Sri Lanka. So our problems are much more complex. So even as we take inspiration from the revolts happening in any part of the world, we have to also understand the particularity of our problems, the fact that our challenges are much more complex, how to basically defeat this fascist regime, and not just the government, fascist government, but the fascist reactionary social movement, which is present even when the fascist government is not there. So our challenges are much more, but what definitely we need to learn from Nepal and also from Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, the youth movements happening anywhere, that that was a very militant movement against the injustice, whatever have been their subjective shortcomings. They did lead a movement, and they hoped for a better future. They are also taking lessons from their past. In Bangladesh also a new regrouping is happening. In Nepal also we hope that that is already happening. In India also, we must take both positive as well as negative lessons from these uprisings, and we need to formulate our own strategy and tactics of our own revolution in India.
Okay, comrade. Next, Amulya asking the same question, but there is another aspect in that question. Uh, what impact does the recent Gen Z protest have on India's government and left parties?
So, I mean, India's government, uh, different kind of responses came. They tried to co-opt also, and they tried to slander also, as I told earlier. So, and many of them are trying to say that uh, that Indian Gen Z is different, and Indian Gen Z doesn't need to revolt, and Indian situation is much better here. You have a better situation and all. So they're trying to control the situation, but definitely they are scared. It is very apparent that the ruling classes in India are very much scared, especially after this Nepal's uprising. They are scared even after Bangladesh. But what happened in Nepal was really shocking for the ruling classes throughout South Asia. So, uh, and I have seen many other parts of the world also. Now people are following the situation in Nepal. So, despite the fact that it's a very small country, not many people knew about Nepal, but this kind of huge movement that in a very short span of time led to the downfall of a regime. So that is definitely having a huge repercussion, and Indian government and Indian ruling classes are closely monitoring the situation. They are also trying to uh, somehow control the situation, because they also realize that it is going to have a repercussion in India also. They are also, their think tanks are also trying to monitor that situation. About the left parties, like the left parties and left, the communist movement is very big. So uh, basically, yeah, there is. We should also oppose this uncritical glorification of this entire movement, as we discussed. That also is going on. That there is an uncritical glorification without understanding that in a very critical manner, that there have been some achievements, but at the same time there has been some serious shortcomings, not just with the youth who are part of that movement, but the entire communist movement in Nepal, as we spoke in last 2 days. So there is a serious need of critical thinking even at this time. So that is not happening at that level that it should happen. And I hope that with Vedika, this kind of sessions, we are able to intervene in this debate also about how do we understand this Gen Z revolt and the youth uprising in Nepal and the Nepalese, what are the problems with the Nepalese revolution. So that kind of critical thinking should be should be promoted, being part of the left movement, revolution left movement in India. So I personally believe that we should promote that this kind of critical, historical, materialist understanding of whatever is going on in our neighborhoods.
Okay, comrade. Next, Sujan is asking a question. You have said that the upheavals in Nepal, earlier in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, are examples of the destiny of spontaneous movements. The social democrats in India doesn't seem to be learning real lessons from these. They have praised the government that came to power in Sri Lanka and are miffed about Nepal. how do we understand this response? And in relation to this, can you explain the impact or role, if any, of the Indian social democrats in the path that the mainstream Nepalese left to?
Yeah, so yeah, in Sri Lanka, you're right that they are glorifying that now they have a left government there. So that shows the kind of ideological bankruptcy uh, which Indian revisionist parties have, and without like instead of understanding these developments in a critical manner and learning lessons and kind of implementing them in India, they are like kind of over glorifying them because they really don't have to do anything. They don't have to task their role. Their aim is not to bring about revolution in India. Their aim is to somehow motivate their cadres that yes, there is something happening in Nepal, there is something happening in Sri Lanka, there is something happening in Cuba. So if they are not able to motivate people and cadres through their ideology, so they are trying to motivate them through these examples, these models that yes, there is a left government there, there is a uh, youth uprising happening. So we should have some hope. We should be motivated and all. But certainly they are not uh, at all aiming for any revolutionary overthrow of Indian capitalist system. So we don't expect them to basically have a critical understanding or historical materialist understanding there. So mm, the next part of your question is in relation to this. Can you explain the impact or role of any of the Indian social democrat in the path of mainstream? Yeah, definitely. I think yesterday only one of the comrades was. I think after that, one of the comrades I was discussing with was mentioning that uh, uh, in the revisionist left, this talk was going on that Sitaram Yechury is kind of inspiring the left movement in Nepal, and that's how Nepalese revolution movement is progressing. If leaders like Sitaram Yechury were able to do any to influence in any manner, it was through their examples of revisionism in India. So the revisionist parties in Nepal also learned a lot from revisionist parties and leaders from India. So only in a negative manner they did have that impact. How not to go towards revolution, how to confine people's anger within the ambit of the existing system. That's the role of Indian revisionist parties, the mainstream left parties in India in the movement of Nepal. Certainly, they did not have any role in the People's War. I mean, uh, that in India also they are opposed to any kind of revolutionary overthrow of capitalism. I mean, their politics is all about confining to the parliamentary system. So, like, we can't expect them to guide the revolution of Nepal.
Okay, comment. Uh, I think participants are typing their questions. So if you have any additions or elaborating points, you can speak.
So, basically, I think we should also discuss about this entire situation of South Asia. Uh, uh, like even in Pakistan, as I mentioned, that there is a economic crisis going on, and in Myanmar, in Bhutan, everywhere there is a kind of some kind of in Indonesia, like in Southeast Asia also, there is already a very turbulent situation going on. in Philippines, in Thailand, in all these countries. So basically, we need to understand this in the context of the economic crisis of capitalism throughout the world. And it is this economic crisis that is leading to these upheavals, that is at the heart of all these problems. And of course, there is specificity and particularity of different countries. But this global capitalist crisis is definitely leading to these kinds of upheavals in especially in the so-called third world countries. And we need to closely follow all such developments wherever it is happening. And I think we must situate these problems in this context of crisis of capitalism, the systemic crisis. It has not been able to overcome the crisis. This is being termed as long depression, especially after the global financial crisis of 2007 and 8. The capitalist system has not been able to overcome this crisis, and that is leading to these kinds of upheavals, and at the same time this fascist rise and some kind of ultra right wing emergence of ultra right wing forces in different parts of the world. And therein lies the role of the revolutionary forces, the subjective forces in all these countries. That if they do not capitalize this situation, as we discuss in case of Nepal also, there is always a chance that it is going towards in a very right wing direction, ultra right wing direction. So even in Nepal, for example, there is a huge there's a big link between the Indian fascists, the Hindutva fascists, and the pro-monarchy forces in Nepal. And RSS and Vishwa Hindu Parishad, they are very active in Nepal also. There is a small Muslim population, especially in the Tarai region, and they are fueling this Hindu-Muslim clashes in Nepal. So, so there is a very huge influence of this reactionary right-wing Indian polity with the right-wing and reactionary forces in Nepalese society. So that also we need to understand, and this in this context of economic crisis is going to deteriorate the situation unless the revolutionary forces in India and Nepal utilize the situation and channelize the energy and the anger of the people in the constructive direction of overthrowing capitalism.
Okay, Comrade. We don't have any questions yet. So I think we can conclude. So do you have any concluding remarks this 2 day session?
So concluding remark that I hope I was able to provide a broad outline of the history of the Nepalese society and Nepalese the communist movement of Nepal. This I'm also kind of learning. For example, there are some open questions, and we need to study a little more concretely about the dominant production relations. One of the comrades asked that question yesterday. What is the dominant production relations of Nepal? Obviously, that is the task of the revolutionaries in Nepal, but we also should closely follow all these studies which are happening, that what has been the changes in the production relations in Nepal, and what kind of society, how do we characterize that? One thing is very clear, that it is we can't understand in that old formulation of semi-feudal, semi-colonial. But on the other hand, Nepal is not a very vibrant capitalist economy. So capitalist production relations definitely have entered. That thing we can say. And even in the villages of Nepal, there is production for market, not just in Tarai, but also in the hill areas also. and wage labor phenomena is becoming dominant there also. No, but how do we understand? Like, how do we characterize? How do we formulate? We need to study a little more concretely before making a real formulation or a characterization of the dominant mode of production. But so I'm also in the process of studying and learning. But whatever has been my understanding so far, that I tried to explain in last 2 days, and I hope I have been able to convey at least some amount of whatever my understanding is.
Okay, comrade. Thank you. So, friends, this 2 day session, yesterday we covered from Nepal's history, 18th century to 2008, and today, after 2008, what were the political and economic conditions in this Nepal situation? How the Maoist party became a single largest party, and what were the condition within Maoist party, the degeneration of party and corruption of leaders, and also worsening economic situations in Nepal. For example, implementation of neoliberal policies in Nepal politics also, and unemployment rising worsening conditions in the Nepal society. So, how these conditions laid foundation for this massive protest and immediate trigger also ban on social media platforms. But it's not only the main cause. There are also uh, historical causes for uh, worsening situations in Nepal led to this widespread movement. And what are the subjective factors involved in the development of this movement, and what were the new politics that coming out from this situation? For example, Anand also mentioned Balendra Shah, who is his politics is depoliticization, and he also mentioned about this movement turning into an NGOization of this Gen Z movement, and also he stressed on the fact that the spontaneous outburst of this anger, which, which cannot change the systemic change. It changed the regime change, but we need a systemic change to solve this all the problems of capitalism. So these are the lessons that we need to learn from Nepal's condition, and it is task of internationalists to understand these conditions and to struggle against this capitalist exploitation and capitalist problems. We need a systemic change rather than regime change. So thank you, friends and comments. And the Vedika next sessions will be in 25th and 26th November. The details of the sessions will be announced in WhatsApp groups. So we'll meet in next sessions. And thank you, Comrade Anand, and thank you all.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.